The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. They're coming to customers. Play just $5. Get $100 bonus funds. We use promo code SGPN. And welcome, everyone, to the Tennis Gam Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. Currently Saturday night, November 15th, around 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Rosso, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this podcast. Time to get into the final episode for about a month, because we do have a long layoff after this upcoming match. You have a break between the ATP Finals title match and the Next Gen event, which is happening in about a month. So either way, last episode we're going to have for a while, but either way, do have one match to get into. For Sunday, the title match in Turin. We have Alcaraz against Sinner again. What else is new? I mean, they dominate the entire tour, so either way, we have a pretty predictable final for the final ATP event of basically the calendar season. Now, before we get into the actual breakdown of Sunday's match, a reminder, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube. Reminder, podcast you can also find on Spotify or Apple. So make sure you check out the podcast either on YouTube, subscribe when you do so, or leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple at SGPN Tennis Gambling Podcast. Now, a reminder as well, we have some nice merchandise on the merch store. Check out the SGPN website for the merch store. You can check out the tennis shirts that we have, the sweatshirts, the mugs, a lot of different options, very comfortable, very affordable. I think you'll enjoy the options we have for you. Plus, a reminder, if you don't want to get every podcast episode for every SGPN show, there's one convenient location that does have every single show. That is the SGPN feed on either Spotify or Apple. Check out your favorite podcast app, subscribe today for free. But a reminder, if you want every episode of every show on SGPN in one easy location, search SGPN on your favorite podcast app to subscribe today for free. Anyway, time to move on into the recap of what happened for the semis. Unfortunately, did lose the lock and dog picks. Very chalky day of tennis, and we ended up apparently being wrong on the Sinner match slightly. We had the Sinner team total under 12.5 at minus 125. Thought he would bury de Minaur like he always does. He ended up doing so. However, he did punt away a bunch of breakpoint chances in multiple return games in the first set. Eventually got the break, but it was after de Minaur won 5 games. So either way, Sinner ended up not going under. He won comfortably. He buried de Minaur into the second set. But unfortunately, he did finish with 13 games because he just took too long to actually convert a breakpoint in the first set. But I didn't expect de Minaur to hold serve 5 times in a row. Sinner had a bunch of chances to break, didn't convert them. But either way, picked up a loss there for the lock. For the dog, not even close. Took a bit of a flyer there with Felix to not get embarrassed. And he did, as Alcaraz buried him 6-2, 6-4. So not even close for the dog. For the lock, I mean, Sinner dominating was a given. But the problem was he just took too long to actually break serve. And he ended up winning handily in the second set. Didn't matter to us as we ended up picking up a loss for the lock and dog. For the semifinal recaps, though, once again, no drama at all. You had the two massive favorites winning comfortably. Sinner was pushed, I'll put quotes around pushed, for the first set against de Minaur. He broke, then he coasted, and you look at Sinner's actual numbers in the last couple of games in the first set onward. Sinner ended up winning, I believe it was 9 of the last 11 games. So it was really never close. Sinner went up a break immediately in the second set, went up a double break right after that. He led 4-0 in the second set. So it was really over very quickly. But de Minaur, to go through the actual numbers here, de Minaur did have to fight off 4 breakpoints before 5 breakpoints before he ended up winning 5 games in the first set. Sinner went 0 for 5 and ended up not converting until it was too late. So either way, picked up a loss there for the lock and dog. We'll try to bounce back here for the final. As for the recaps, once again, nothing to add. I mean, Sinner owns de Minaur. He's 13 in a lifetime. De Minaur is not going to beat him anytime soon, if ever. And you saw Alcaraz look very good. Now, Felix came out a little bit out of sorts with his serve in the first set. He was just not hitting his spots, and Alcaraz was able to break him a couple of times. Second set, Felix got it under control a bit more, but he still was not able to really generate any pressure in the return games. And that's why Alcaraz only faced 1 breakpoint in the entire match, faced 0 breakpoints in the entire second set. So Sinner was once again winning comfortably, did not get broken. Alcaraz won more easily, but either way, both guys look pretty good, and we're going to have what should be a fun final taking place on Sunday. Now, before we get into the actual breakdown of the final, a brief look back at the outrights we gave out for the event. We won basically everything. So for Turin, for the board group, we only gave out Sinner minus 500 that won. For Connor's group, we gave out Alcaraz minus 150 and Fritz at plus 600. Of course, Alcaraz did win the group. So we won both groups in general with the outright leader. And then for the outright bets, auto win we have in store. We have Sinner at minus 140 and we have Alcaraz at plus 225. So we did the usual strategy for all the main events, and it worked again. Just bet Alcaraz and Sinner to win every big event, and you're just going to win. It's basically how it goes. When Sinner and Alcaraz are both active in the same tournament, nobody else is winning. And we've been talking about this for months, and here we are again. So a nice win there for the outright. Of course, with Sinner being minus 140 and Alcaraz being plus 225, you can, in theory, bet on one side or the other if you want to get a completely dead even hedge, or if you want to put a bit more risk on one side or the other, you can get creative with your units. But either way, you should have an automatic winner in your future catalog by tailing the outright bets for this event. But overall, no drama at all. I mean, Sinner has not dropped a set here in 2 years, ended up winning the entire title last year in straight sets the entire way. Now he's in the final again without dropping a set, so we'll see if that changes. But either way, Sinner does look great. Alcaraz had a bit of a struggle against Fritz in the group stage. Besides that, he's won every match in straight sets. The two best players in the world are going to go at it again on a Sunday. Should be pretty fun. Anyway, a point is, that's going to wrap it up for the actual recap, though, of the semis. Time to go on into the breakdown of the final between Alcaraz and Sinner in Turin. Before we get into the actual breakdown, a reminder brought to you by our sponsor, Novig. So if you want some great prices, check out Novig. So if you like, once again, getting the best price, check out the number one prediction market for sports in America. You can find them available in a bunch of states, 35 plus to be exact. So it should be available in your state, but check just to make sure. And a reminder, when you actually download the app, get a nice deal with us, get $50 for free. When you spend just $5 if use our code SGPN. So once again, if you actually use the code SGPN, when you sign up for your new account, you can check out the platform while getting $50 free while spending just $5. Get an extra Novig, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So if you like pick 'em entries, chance to win 5,000 times your entry, pick higher or lower on player stats, mix and match your sports with tennis, UFC, football, basketball, college sports, you name it. But you can also check out the platform with the new offer they have for new customers. Play just $5, $100 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the semis. Time to go on into the final match in Turin. So once again, Alcaraz taking on Sinner. Alcaraz is, of course, better in the head-to-head. He's currently 11-7. Check which actual sources you end up using, because the ATP website does not include the Saudi events with the Six King Slam, so ignores those two meetings, but Sinner did win both. So Sinner is still down in the head-to-head, but he did win the most recent meeting, which was in the Six King Slam a couple weeks ago, as Sinner did win in straight sets. But Alcaraz, we know, has won some big events against Sinner, did lose the Wimbledon final against him, won the US Open final, won the French Open final. So Alcaraz, we know, does have a bit of, I'd say a bit of success when it comes to beating Sinner in the biggest stages. But Sinner, we know, with the home crowd of Turin, I think should definitely help him out in this matchup. Now, for the actual pricing, Sinner's favored. No shame, no surprise or shame in that. Sinner's minus 177. I see Alcaraz at plus 150. For the over-under, I see 23.5 games, 22.5. You can find the over at minus 134. Manageable, but once again, a bit of juice there. But once again, you can shop your lines, find whichever total you want for over or under. But either way, mostly 22.5 or 23.5. For the game spread, I see Sinner at minus 2.5 at around minus 114. I see Alcaraz plus 2.5 at around minus 112. So 2.5 is the main number. You can go up or down depending on who you think wins. But either way, 2.5 is the main baseline for the spread. For the set spread, Sinner in straight sets is plus 148. Alcaraz to win a set is minus 186, and Alcaraz to win in straight sets is plus 360. For the actual team totals, I see Alcaraz at 12.5 at plus 102 on the over. The under is minus 129. For Sinner, I see 12.5. The over is around minus 140, and the under is around plus 110, give or take. But either way, point is, should be a pretty fun match. Now, in Turin, they've never played against each other. In fact, not many career meetings on hard court indoor, decent amount on hard court outdoor, but in indoor, Sinner is currently 2-1. He beat him in the Six King Slam about a month ago, beat him in the Six King Slam last year in 3, and ended up facing off in, trying to find it quickly, I believe it was Paris in 2021, and Alcaraz did win in straight sets. So Sinner has won the last 2 indoor hardcore meetings, but once again, Alcaraz, we know, is definitely, I'd say, successful in the head-to-head, and we'll see if Sinner's unbeaten run, or even just unbeaten set run, is going to continue in this event. But either way, point is for the matchup. I got to mention the actual path so far. So both guys are undefeated. No surprise. Sinner has not dropped a set yet. Alcaraz has, but both guys have been really, really good. So Sinner, to go through the order here, ended up beating Felix in the first round, beat Zverev in the second, or first match, beat Zverev in the second match, beat Shelton in the third, and beat Dimenauer in the fourth. Really never in danger of losing any of those sets. He was just in full control the entire time. So Sinner was coasting from the start like last year. Also went through the entire Paris Masters without dropping a set. So Sinner, just for the actual record here, is currently on an impressive winning streak if you include Vienna. But the point is he has won a total of 9 matches in a row without dropping a set. So Sinner has been on the warpath. As for Alcaraz, he's been good and he's gotten better as the event has gone on. Beat Dimenauer in straight sets, beat Fritz in 3, almost lost the second set there and the match as he was facing a break point or two, fought it off, ended up winning in 3, beat Musetti in straight sets, and beat Felix, in straight sets. So either way, he's gotten a lot better as the event has gone on. The Musetti and Felix wins were very dominant, so very impressive showings there, especially against Felix, who we know is very good on hard court, especially indoor, and Alcaraz went through like he was nothing, as he only faced 1 break point, never got broken, and Felix was kind of just getting destroyed from the opening serve. So either way, you have the 2 best players in the world facing off against each other again, faced off a ton of times so far this season, because none of them really ever lose to guys besides each other. But for the history, worth mentioning, said the head-to-head overall, they have faced off a grand total of 6 times already this year, the 7th meeting in 2025. So a lot of experience with each other, a lot of familiarity, and we'll see if, once again, Alcaraz can beat him on hard court indoor, which is easier said than done. Now, for starters, for the actual price, should Sinner be a favorite? Yes, he should be. The fact is, he has not dropped a set here in basically 2 years. I think that he is worthy with the home Italian fans by his side. I do think Sinner is a worthy favorite. Now, you could argue the price a bit expensive, which I understand. Sinner is minus 177, give or take. You could argue that Sinner should be minus 130, minus 140. I will point out that a couple exhibition sets before the event actually started, and Sinner absolutely buried him in the exhibition sets. So Sinner did face off against him before the event started with some practice scrimmages, and Sinner coasted. Now, Alcaraz, we know, did get better as the event went on, looked great against Musetti and against Felix. So I'm not going to put too much stock into the exhibition scrimmage sets they had about a week or 2 ago. But I do think Alcaraz is definitely a worthy dog in this matchup. You could argue, based on that success, it might be a bit too steep of a price at plus 150. For me, I understand it. I think Sinner should be minus 150 if I had to price it myself. Some people might argue minus 130. I think Sinner's proven he's too good on these fast-paced courts stylistically. The court benefits him more than Alcaraz. So I'll go for Sinner being the favorite at minus 150 if I had to go for a reasonable price. Now, based on the number being minus 180, basically, I think there's value in Alcaraz, just based on the actual price. Now, I do think for the actual matchup, either way, I don't see it being straightforward. I think there will be at least one close set, and I think you'll end up getting what could be a 3-set battle. We'll see. But either way, I do think Sinner will have a tougher go of it in this matchup than he did in the scrimmages against Alcaraz about a week or 2 ago. But either way, I do think Sinner will win personally. I understand the comment section. I do see Van mentioning that Carlito is the way to go because it's really never worth taking a favorite in the head-to-head matchups. I understand where you're coming from. It does seem like both guys are always a threat to win their matches. So based on that, you could argue that the odds are never really going to properly represent how much of a coin flip these matchups are. However, I do see Young Bay commenting down below that indoor Sinner should win 2-0. I do think Sinner's going to win. The question is by how much. I think Sinner ends up winning, in my opinion, a close matchup. I will not pick Alcaraz to get destroyed. Yes, Alcaraz lost handily in Saudi in the Six Kings Slam. He only won 6 games. He got buried. But Alcaraz was really bad in that match. Just watching the actual match unfold, Alcaraz's forehand was not dialed in, a bunch of errors, and Sinner faced 0 breakpoints in the entire match. So I do acknowledge Sinner won the most recent meeting, which was also an indoor hard court. But Alcaraz really just didn't have it that day, and I do think that it'll look a lot sharper in the final of this event. Also worth mentioning, a grand prize for winning the event is a casual $10+ million, so not a bad day at work. But either way, point is for this matchup, I'll go Sinner to win, but I think the price expensive. I do think that the team total is worth a look for Sinner at 12.5. Couple ways to get there. Either Alcaraz ends up losing in a close set, and then maybe gets blown out. We'll see. But either way, once you get the close set, you get the de Minaur match once again, which is Sinner going over the team total while also kind of being never in doubt of winning the match. Or you get the classic Alcaraz-Sinner battle, which is a 3-set war, and you're in good shape anyway to cash the team total over. But I don't mind that angle for this one. Sinner team total over is my main thought here. Don't mind the over in the match at 22.5. Think you might get a 7-6, 6-4 type match, but either way, I think Sinner's going to win, and I think that he's a worthy favorite, but I do think the price feels a bit expensive for me, so I can't take that as a lock or dog, -180, give or take. The spread at 2.5 does feel a bit sweaty, so I'll stay away from that too. Don't mind the team total over for Sinner in this one. Anyway, it's going to wrap it up for the actual final preview. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the lock and dog, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Rhythm, for the crush in college football, the NFL, NBA, and college basketball. They also are doing a giveaway every week, cash prizes for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets for model that you built, and you can win $1K. And we have a nice discount code with Rhythm. Use the code SGPN25. We download the app and get a nice quarter off first month. That Rhythm, once again, promo code SGPN25 for quarter off first month. Promo code SGPN25 for a quarter off your first month at Rhythm. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the final between Alcaraz and Sinner in Turin. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I mentioned it a second ago. I'll go to it as my lock. Sinner team total over 12.5 at -140. Couple ways to get there. Caesars, by the way, does have a rogue price. I say this every time. Caesars has the best team totals for tennis on the entire market. Get yourself an account there because they do have the best prices for team totals. And Sinner, 12.5, mostly at around -155, -160. I saw a couple offshore books have 13 games flat. 12.5, though, -140 is an objectively great price. And I do think that it has a couple of ways of cashing. First of all, there's been a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in 4 of Sinner's last 5 matches. So Sinner, despite not dropping a set in any of those matches, has been pushed for at least one set. So I do think there's a couple ways to get there. Either Sinner wins and ends up going to a long first or second set, or in theory, it ends up going to a deciding set because 7 of the last 9 meetings have not ended in straight sets. I'm excluding the Sinner retirement in Cincinnati where he only played 5 games because I can't really use that for any data. But the point is, in completed matches without injuries, 7 of the last 9 have not ended in straight sets. Couple of scripts. Sinner could actually lose the match and still get there if he loses in a 3-set marathon. But either way, couple of scripts. I'm a fan of it. Give me Sinner team totals, my lock for the show. For the dog, I'm going to go with the long set double down idea. Give me the tiebreak in the match. I see +105 for a tiebreaker in this one. Sinner has been serving very well. He has not been broken a single time in the event. Alcaraz has been serving well over the last couple of matches. He has not been broken in 6 straight sets. So Alcaraz, 2+ matches in, or I should say streak, without getting broken. Sinner, the entire tournament has not been broken, facing off against Felix and Zverev and even de Minaur, who's a great returner. Nobody can do anything against him. I do think you might see one long set full of holds. Plus, worth mentioning, the head-to-head history on hardcourt indoor has featured long sets. 2 of the 3 career hardcourt indoor meetings have had at least one tiebreak, so the history is on my side. The serving, I'd say, stats are on my side as well. I do see a breaker. I think +105 is a good deal, and I'll take that as my dog for the show. So once again, the lock and dog for the final in Turin, lock's going to be on Sinner. Team total over 12.5 games at -140 on Caesars. For my dog, I'm going to go with Alcaraz and a Sinner over half a tiebreak at plus 105 on DraftKings. Anyway, to wrap it up for the show, said it when we started the show, but I'll repeat it. We are not going to have an episode for another month because the next event we have is the Next Gen Finals in Jeddah, which is starting on December 17th. So we have no tennis action for the next month or so. Got some Davis Cup stuff, which we'll not be covering. But either way, point is we're back with the show in a month. Till then, find me on SGPN for the NBA Gambling Podcast, the other shows as well, the Propcast, for example. Still doing podcasts, but not this one for the next month. Till next time, you can find me on Twitter as Radio. Find the podcast on YouTube, SGPN Tennis Game Podcast. Find it on Spotify or Apple. And a reminder, like, subscribe on YouTube, and leave a rating and a review to help the show grow on Spotify or Apple. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.